Welcome to Write to Publish, your go-to podcast for all things writing and publishing. I'm Karen Stanley, a 14 times published author and the founder of Mabel and Stanley Publishing. Join me as I share a multitude of tips and insights drawn from my own writing and publishing journey. We'll be hearing from some inspirational authors too, who will share their writing experiences and top tips for success. Each week, we'll learn about an aspect of writing, from composition to genre and from publishing to marketing. Listen in as we learn and chat about all things writing and publishing, and let's get you on the right path. Hello and welcome to another episode of Write to Publish with me, Karen Stanley. Thank you for joining in. So today we are going to talk about building an author platform and why it's important, I would argue crucial, to have one before you publish and launch your book. You would be surprised, or you might not be surprised, to learn how many authors have launched their book's suddenly gone live, it's been published, and then they're quite surprised when they don't get any sales or that sales are slow. And the thing we talk about there is, publishing a book is not enough to get it sold. It's like opening a shop and not giving anyone the address. No one knows why it's there. No one knows who you are, what you're selling, or why you're even in that space. So really, the most difficult part, I would say, about writing a book is the promotion thereafter. Joking aside, obviously writing a book is fairly complicated and a complex process, but lots of authors, they're pretty good at that. They're quite creative, they're good with words, they've got a passion for writing. When it comes to selling their book, that's where they can falter, because it's not really their bag, their forte. Really, the writing and the creative part of the process is their forte, not necessarily the marketing and sales. And I would argue that's probably true for most business people. When you start a business, your passion might be anything from, I don't know, building cars to paintings, but generally, it might not be sales and marketing, and you cannot run a business without sales and marketing. So it's kind of a necessary evil, shall we say. So when I work with my authors, one of the first things we do before we even start to write the book is we talk about the visions, the goals and objectives for the book. What is it they want the book to achieve? And then, sort of second, we will then look at who their audience is. So who's the book for? Who's going to read it? Where are your audience hanging out? And what do you want it to give to those people? So whatever genre it is, I know whether you're writing romantic fiction or whether you're writing a business book, you need to know who your audience are and what you want your book to achieve. So what are your goals? What are your objectives? What do you want your book to do when it's out in the marketplace? And once you know that, then it's obviously going to be a lot easier to promote it. If you know who you're promoting it to and what you want it to achieve, then you can look for collaborations and avenues and things like that that will help you to do that. Now, the thing about writing a book, obviously that takes quite a long time. Publishing a book, that can take quite a long time. What you don't want to do is get to the point at which your book is suddenly released into the world, it's gone live, and you've got no following, you've got no platform, because your book is going to launch and it's going to be like one of those Catherine wheels that my dad used to light every bonfire night that never actually took off. It just sort of fizzled and died. So really, when you start, I would say, that's not an exaggeration to say that you want to start building your author platform, from the moment you start writing your book. Really, you want to start early. And there's lots of ways that which you can do that. And really, building your author platform, all you're trying to do is get your name out there. Why do you think that so many of these celebrities write books? Well, they write books because they've got a massive platform and they've got a captive audience of people who are already engaged with them, who already like what they do, already like what they've got to say, and so when they launch the book, they've got people there who are hanging on their every word already and are keen to buy that book. So that's why so many celebrities will suddenly bring out a book, because it's an easy win, really, because they've got the audience there. Now, unless you already are a celebrity, and I'm guessing if you're listening to me talking about promoting your book, you're probably not, you're going to have to do that first. And what you need to do is really become visible. People need to know about you. People buy from people. So they are looking to see you, to know, like, trust you, be engaged in you, be interested in you, and want to buy from you. And you don't want to do that, as I said, and wait until the last moment just before your book is published and you think, oh crikey, I better raise my author profile, I need to build a platform, I'm going to do it the day before my book launches. Your success is going to be pretty poor, I would say, unless you're extremely lucky. So what I would suggest to you is that you need some kind of strategy, and we have talked about this in previous episodes, and we will talk about it a lot in upcoming episodes, because it's a big topic and it's a big deal for authors, and it's something that most generally they need to work on. So there's lots of ways in which you can build an author platform. The most important thing really to remember and to think about is, where are your audience hanging out? There's no point you going and crying out about your book in the local high street if none of your audience are there. But similarly, if you start a strategy whereby you're posting and active and taking lots of time and care over your content on Facebook, but actually your audience are on LinkedIn, you can see why you would be wasting your time and energy and time on promotion is quite a big deal. So think about where your audience are hanging out. So the way I can simplify this is certain genres, certain demographics. It tends to be TikTok, for example. There are loads of authors on TikTok, lots of writers on TikTok, but you've got to think TikTok is quite a young audience predominantly. It is getting to be a bit more of an older age group that are using TikTok now, but it is predominantly a younger age group. And you're going to have to be competitive in terms of what other people are putting out. There's a lot of great stuff on TikTok. I've got to be honest. There's some fantastic videos, some really cool stuff. So if you're going to stand out in a market like that, you've got to think about what your content's going to look like and how you're going to put it out there. If your book is a business book, for example, then it's much more likely that your audience are going to be hanging out on LinkedIn, and you might look at that for your promotion. So think about who your audience are. You should have done this when you started to write the book. If you don't know who you're writing it for, I would argue that you're not ready to write it, because you could get your tone, your pacing, your voice, and all kinds of things go a bit squiffy. But think about where your audience are hanging out. And it might be one place, it might be a couple of places, it might be all of the places. But my advice to you would be to build one or two platforms first, get really good at those before you move on to others. So your obvious ones is, you've got your social media, you've got Facebook, you've got Instagram, you've got TikTok, you've got Twitter or X. I don't tend to use that myself a lot now. There are a lot of writers on X, but I've fallen out of love with it. I think it's become not a great place now. I don't like what's happened to it. That's just my personal opinion. And I don't feel like many of my readers are hanging out there. You've also got Threads. Did I say LinkedIn and TikTok? So you've got the main social media platforms. So if you can find out which of those social media platforms that your audience is predominantly on, if it's Facebook and Instagram, it's quite easy to schedule or post to both of those simultaneously. So you could quite easily do those two platforms together. Find out where your audience are hanging out, and then you're going to build a profile on that platform. So on Facebook, you might create a Facebook page with your name as the author. Some people actually will create a page in the name of the book. I think it's probably better to do it as your name, because you're wanting to engage that audience and wanting them to buy into you. And also, if you do more than one book and then you've got a page which is named after your book and then you've got a sequel, then you're going to have to rethink and sort of start from scratch or try and tag it on, which could be tricky. So, if you've decided that Facebook is your platform, then you're going to have a strategy whereby you build a following, and you're going to be putting out relevant content, things like a great way to do this is other writers that inspire you, books that you like to read, what you've based your inspiration on, where you get your inspiration, how you motivate yourself to write, writer's life type of stuff, where you get the ideas for your characters, what other writers have inspired you, all of that kind of thing. Building up a profile, building up a picture of you as a writer that will make your readers go, do you know what? I love what she's got to say, or her content's really engaging or funny or relevant or moving. And that's why I'm buying into her, and that's why, or him, obviously, if it's a guy, buying into them and wanting to buy their book. The only thing I would say, the caveat to that is, make sure your content is relevant. I once said to one of my authors, don't be posting about apples if you're trying to sell oranges. So in the simplest terms, if you've written a horror story, you're not really going to be putting out romance and friendship. Similarly, if you've written vice versa, then you'll be thinking about that. So whilst you might be doing writer's life, that's a good thing to post about your writing routines, where you like to write, your inspirations, and all, as I've just said. That's all relevant. But if you're posting it out about anything that is writing, try and keep it genre. If you're recommending other books, you can recommend outside of your genre, but it does make sense to keep inside that genre, because then you're going to be attracting the right sort of people. And then when you run ads and things, like if you run ads, or if you're trying to get new followers, then you've got people who are in the right demographic. So social media is certainly a way to build your platform. I would say networking for any kind of business venture, for any kind of marketing or sales type promotional event of any kind, you cannot do any better than networking. And certainly once your book's launched, you want to be taking your book everywhere with you. You want to be talking to people about your book. You want to be sharing stuff. I've been invited this week already to talk at a couple of events at women's networking groups. I've also been invited to talk at my local library. So local libraries and bookshops, get involved. Get on to see if there's a local writers scene in your town or your area that you can piggyback onto, and you'll start to network with other writers, with other authors, who will then be in touch as well with readers, and that will help you to raise your profile as an author. I've also done appearances. Appearance is quite a grand name, but I have been invited to people's book groups, and they've reviewed my book, and I've had some wonderful evenings where I've gone round and shared a glass of wine and chatted about my book. But straight away, that's sort of 8 to 10 people who've bought your book, and then hopefully if they enjoy it, they're going to review it and share it out to other people. So any kind of networking where you can network with other writers, or where you can share your writing experiences, or talk about your writing, or talk about books in general, those are all going to raise your profile as an author. You need to become visible, not invisible. People need to know who the heck you are and why they should be interested in anything you say or write. So, social media and networking are great. You can also start to think about attending literary festivals. If you know when your book is launching, see if you could get maybe a guest slot at the local literary festival. Could you have a stand there? Could you start to promote yourself that way? You can also get yourself a website. It's not essential, but certainly a landing page for your book is great. And what you can do there is you can offer some kind of free lead magnet in the run up to your book launch, and then you're going to be collecting people's email names and addresses. So a lead magnet, and we've talked about this before again, is where you offer something for free. So it might be the opening chapter of your book, or it might be a character profile that never made it to the book and ended up on the cutting room floor, or something that you think your readers are going to be engaged in. The idea is you offer that out as a freebie, and then people will sign up for that freebie, and then hey presto, you've got their email addresses, and then you can start to email them out with your progress. So all the while you're building yourself an author platform, you're building the buzz. You are talking about when your book's coming out, you're getting excited about it, you're getting people excited about it, you're priming them to buy that book when the link goes live on launch day. And a newsletter is a great way to keep in touch and nurture those fans, those raving fans who are hanging on your every word. And the thing about newsletter is it's quite simple to create one. And in the beginning, you could sort of send them out monthly. If you start to get really busy, you might increase that to fortnightly or weekly. But you want to touch base with your fan base. And also, obviously, in the lead up to launch, in the couple of weeks before, then you might ramp up the email contact a bit more, because you're wanting to get that flurry of sales on the first day. So you can see why I'm saying, you need to build your author platform way in advance. I would say at least 8 weeks before the launch, and in some cases sort of even 3 to 4 months is a good idea, because it takes a while to build a following. As we all know, you start to be trialing what hashtags work, what content works, what your readers will resonate with. Can you find any collaborations where you can get to talk about your book again with other authors, or on podcast interviews, something like that. So once you've got that lead magnet out and you're going to nurture those new potential readers via your newsletter, you'll be sharing what's going on, what your progress is, how far you've got, how near to launch is, what's happening so far. Are you in the editing process? Are you finalizing the designs for your cover? You're really keeping your reader in the loop with what's happening, what's upcoming, and why they should be getting excited. You might also then be building up the buzz towards some kind of physical launch. And then, of course, you've got loads of social media collateral for after the launch to keep pushing out your lovely launch party, which incidentally, we've talked about this before, does not need to cost an arm and a leg. You're really doing it for that social proof, for that buzz building, and using those assets after the launch and post launch, and just to keep that buzz going. So, getting yourself an email list of people who, once you publish, you send out that link to buy, and they literally are there waiting for the link and cannot wait to buy it. That is the way to build the buzz and make sure that when you go live, people know about it. You don't want to go live and only your mum and your next door neighbour have heard about it. You want much more interest than that. You want much more buzz. You want to build that buzz so that when you launch, it isn't like that poor old Catherine Wheel that is probably still nailed to my old the fence of my childhood home as we speak. So building your platform, don't leave it to the last minute. It takes time to grow a platform. Do not for 1 minute, as we've talked about lots of times before, do not for 1 minute imagine that this is a one and done process. This is the long game. It does not happen overnight. It takes a slow burn to do that. It takes dedication. It takes commitment. It takes resilience and a lot of kind of pig-headed sort of dogged don't give upness, if that even is a word. So you do need to persevere with it. But as I say, if you leave it till the night before your launch, do not expect your launch to go with much of a bang. It will go with more of a fizzle. So 6 to 8 weeks before the book, start to think about building your platform and where your authors are hanging. You might even do, I don't know, a little leaflet drop, or if you've written a children's book, you might need to get a reading in a school. Go where your audience are, go where your readers are, go where the people who are going to buy your book are hanging out. So think about where that might be. I don't know if you've written a self-help book, regards mental health. There might be some mental health charities in your local area that you could piggyback onto, or you could do some kind of collaboration with, so that again you've built that platform. People know who you are, so that when your book comes out, they know that they're going to want to read it. I don't know if you've done, local bookshops are always keen to support local authors, because that's how they get people through the doors. Bookshops are increasingly finding it difficult to get people through their doors. So if you know you've got a book coming, go and see your local bookshop and see if they're keen to support you. I know lots of authors who've had their book launches at their local bookshop, which have been hugely successful. The bookshop is happy because you're in there promoting their bookshop. You're happy because people have got a great place to come, and you're attracting more readers. The only caveat to that is I would say that you will not make as much of a profit margin in bookshops, because they obviously have to take their cuts. That's something to be aware of. However, it is great for raising your profile. So do not wait until the night before you go live to build your author platform. 6 to 8 weeks minimum. Start building your platform. Look at where your authors are hanging, your readers are hanging out, really, and promote yourself in those regular, consistent promotion. It's no good putting out a post on the 1st of January and then not posting again till the 6th of June. People will have forgotten long, probably by the 2nd of January. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. You do need to be consistent. You do need to be regular. Consistency is key. Even if you haven't always got the best content, something is better than nothing. And it's better to post out 3 times a week consistently than 7 times a week 1 week and then nothing for 2 weeks. One of my lovely authors, Samantha Ward Smith, she's due to publish Tower of Vengeance, which is set in it's historical fiction basically, and it's set around the Tower of London. And she's been taking some wonderful pictures of herself at the tower, walking around London, going to the library to do her writing and editing. And all of this stuff has gone out onto her social media. She's done a lot of writing about ravens, because there's a raven in her book, and they're obviously very particular to the Tower. So she's really engaged interest with the right reader, her demographic, people who are interested in what she's got to say, people who know what she's about and now are really excited that her book, which will be launched, I believe, on the 17th of January. So if you're listening to this retrospectively, get yourself on Amazon because it'll already be out and about. So build your author platform. Don't leave it to the last minute. Get it out there. Get a strategy. Find where your audience are hanging out and start to promote yourself in those areas. Become visible, not invisible. I wish you well. And if you have any questions, as always, you can email me, Karen@MabelandStanleyPublishing.com, or you can simply find me on all of the social media channels, except for X, unfortunately, at Mabel and Stanley Publishing. I'm there. I'm pretty easy to find. And I'm always keen to hear from you. I'm always keen to answer your questions. I've got some great digital course offers and community stuff going on at the moment. So please do get in touch. Tell me your woes, tell me your challenges, tell me your successes. I love to hear both. And if you've got any questions, please do ask, and I will always help you to get you on the right path. Thank you for listening. Hear from you all again soon.